This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everybody. There is a wonderful ability that we have all been given, and all of us have had this since the beginning of humans. It's one of the reasons I believe we're still here, talking about your intuition, specifically your third eye. We're going to talk about that today. He is an energy healer, shadow work coach, offers so much insight at returntoyourtruth.com. And it's so great to have Jim Tourtsakis back on the program. How are you doing today?
Good, thanks, Steve. How have you been?
Fantastic. And really looking forward to digging into this because I believe we have a third eye. Sometimes it's hard to connect with it and get that intuition. What exactly is the third eye? It's the pineal gland. Or am I saying that right? Pineal gland?
Pineal gland, at the physical level, it's a big part of it, fairly central, but it's only one part of it because the third eye is more like a system, not just an eye per se, not just the pineal gland. And I mean, you, the listener, have a serious think about this. Do you think, activating your third eye or upgrading your strong psychic or intuitive sense from where it is now, even if it's at zero, as far as you're concerned, do you think it'll help you make the best possible decisions in your life each and every time?
Without a doubt.
Do you think so-called natural intuitives and psychics have a big edge in life, both in business, managing people, making important decisions? If you're a psychic a counselor of any kind or a coach, or just trying to navigate your way through the labyrinth of life. What if you can make it far less of a labyrinth, or at least lower the walls of that labyrinth? Do you think that'll be huge breakthrough?
Again, without a doubt.
Yes, I'm being unashamedly rhetorical here because this is a big deal. And we have a natural right to it, the way we have a natural right to see with our own two physical eyes. Okay, so you really got to claim that right. And now, before I get into some of the science behind it, that's really interesting. I just want to quickly read out some feedback that I've gotten for the third eye activation method that I provide for people, so that you, the listener, know you're not wasting your time and you'll want to stick right through till the end of this episode. And I'll just quickly mention first feedback or result, if you will, from a gentleman in Hawaii, I think it was, Jonathan, who never saw himself as much of a psychic or energy worker or that kind of thing. But he does participate in the 144K mass meditations that I lead once every couple of weeks. And he said, quote, "I did the third eye activation prior to our mass meditation, ... Wow, ... I'm on another level. It's almost a little scary, but wow, ... unquote." And then there's Laura. And now she's a Reiki practitioner, so is well aware of our non-physical realities that governs our physical reality and life, for that matter. She said, quote, "I am now seeing aura colors when I scan bodies. I used to only see black spots when they were out of balance. I've also had some intense detox symptoms myself," unquote. And I'll explain why sometimes this method creates physical detox as well. Then there's Ocean. Actually, it's Ocean who's in Hawaii. That's right. Quote, "Here's my first experience with Jim's third eye activation method. I always wake up and try to remember my dreams. I always do this as I'm really keen to attain lucid dreaming, but I do not remember anything. Then halfway through doing Jim's third eye activation, all my dreams came back vividly," unquote. Now, I won't go any further than that for now to get into this, since we've only got about 25 minutes, I guess. So here's the thing. Most of our higher senses, they're dormant. Activating them gives you big life advantages, like we've explained. We've established that. I can get into some stories. Well, every day you have to deal with people. Every day, you, the listener, you have to try to figure things out, try to work out how to find the best solution for X, Y, Z, how to deal with this person, that person at work, this person in the coffee shop that introduced themselves, shook your hand, and want to do business with you. Trying to, clear up some incoherence during meetings and conversations and all that kind of thing, and you can't quite figure it out, or you experience frustration, which then creates uncertainty, which then often creates anxiousness. Okay. One thing leads to another. What if you can skip all that and gain certainty and gain confidence, because you're getting these clear thoughts, clear awareness that just pop out of seemingly nowhere? So that's where we want to get you, the listener, to. All right. So you can really walk through life a lot more confidently and know that you're going to be more than okay. So here's the thing. Back to the pineal gland. Oh, and it also, if you're doing shadow work, personal development, it helps you locate the blocks much easier and quicker. So you don't have to throw money at some sort of psychic reading or whatever you do, whatever people do these days. And that's so big, powerful stuff, big advantages to life. So let me get into the whole pineal gland. Yes, it is a third eye, but like I said, the third eye is more like a system that involves six other glands. Your pineal is just one. Your pineal is the receiver of visions and information. Then it steps it down through something called the stria medullaris that connects to the thalamus. Okay. And most of the fibers and nerves within the stria medullaris that connects to the thalamus is actually dormant. Within the thalamus, you have those six other glands, sort of like at the rear end of it, that play an equally important role as the pineal gland. So I'll just quickly spell them out. There's the superior colliculus, all right, which is there's two of them just below the pineal gland. Well, if they're just below the pineal gland, there's got to be some relation to the pineal gland. And so they process visual signals, both from the physical eyes and the pineal gland. They're the processors. Then you got beneath that, there's how scientific terms are, right? Difficult to pronounce. Inferior colliculus. They're just below the superior colliculus, and they process auditory signals, auditory codes from your ears, but also from the pineal gland. Then beneath that is the medial geniculate bodies. They're off to the side, okay, of these superior and inferior colliculus, and they process the auditory signals, again, from your ears, but also pineal gland. Next to that, last two, lateral geniculate bodies. They're further off to the side, closer to the ears, really, and they process more of the visual signals from your physical eye and pineal gland. Now, do you think some of those processing abilities are not active the way they are with good psychics? Okay, it's like your computer. The Wi-Fi antenna on your computer, which is kind of like your pineal gland, might be working, but if your speakers and your screen isn't working, well, you're kind of out of luck, right? Sort of, yeah, you're only going to go so far. So it's about stimulating those back into life through something called epigenetics, which is a term that a lot of your listeners will be familiar with. So it's where you stimulate dormant genes back to life. And so, quite simply, you got to get that happening with all those extra six glands that work with the pineal gland. Okay, because everyone treats the pineal gland and decalcifying the pineal gland as the holy grail. Yes, I don't necessarily disagree with that. It's pretty central, and certainly do take the measures to decalcify your pineal gland. But all these other glands have to be reactivated, upgraded. Okay. And then you've got the pituitary gland, and that's got to be it's sort of atrophied as well, like the pineal gland. You've got to stimulate that and upgrade that back into life and clear it and so forth. Because between the pituitary and the pineal, when they're properly stimulated and activated, they create a magnetic field between them, which centralizes itself on the thalamus again, lo and behold. And there's electromagnetic signals that you can now pick up. Okay. There's, I don't have it on with me right now, but there's always ancient pictures of that side view of ancient Egyptian kind of, not mummies, but gods, whatever. And there's the Eye of Horus that's not located on the pineal gland, which many people would expect it to. It's located right on the thalamus. So the thalamus that contains those glands and sits in the middle of that electromagnetic field that's created between the pituitary and the pineal gland, very central. And it's all part of a more complex system. So let me give everyone a few seconds to digest that so far before we move on. Any questions yet, Steve?
Jim, why do we need to activate all of this? Why did it become dormant? Or was it never activated in the first place?
Well, they were activated when we were children. And as one famous mentor would say, when we were children and we would be told by our parents, stop talking to those empty chairs. Stop talking to the statue or the plant, or, well, we can go on with all sorts of, anecdotal sort of moments like that. Stop imagining things.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's part of our conditioning during childhood to shut down all of that and just, get real, so to speak, with the so-called real world. So that's a big part of it. That's a really big part of it. We've never honored, validated our natural, often activated abilities since children.
It's also a factor of when you hear children are to be seen and not heard. So now they're shut down, but they may be seeing things, they may be experiencing things, and now they've kind of just shut it down. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep, certainly. And I remember two guys that I knew personally. They would see, and listeners would have to go back to our previous episodes, they would see, shall we say, not so friendly looking non-physicals. Okay, I don't like to use the word ghosts, but they would see things as kids, and they would see beautiful, angelic, or positive beings as well. But the bad ones, that would scare them as little children, and they made the decision, I don't want to see this. How many people have seen the old Bruce Willis movie, The Sixth Sense? Okay. Another example. Anyway, most people, I'm sure many of you listeners would have consulted a psychic at some point for that bit of insight, deeper awareness that's not just beyond one's current level of sensory awareness, but it's outside one's reference points. Okay. If you can get information that's beyond the limited or limitations of your current reference points, your current paradigm, That's extremely powerful, a huge advantage to life. And that's what I help and encourage people to, in the long run and not so long run, like pretty quickly, be their own psychic guide. And many people believe in guides. Again, I'm not a fan of religious terminology because the proper term is positive entities, but they would like to get in touch and receive communications from positive, extremely smart, highly aware, non-physical entities. Okay. What's called angels. But again, I'm not a fan of religious terminology because there's connotations of belief and non-belief there, which I prefer the scientific side of things where, people have taken photos and there's behind the person that they've took a photo of, there's a clear and present being of light. It's just light in the shape of a human, usually. Like there's how many photos like that. So to me, it's all real. And I'd invite everyone, all of your listeners, to consider that maybe this is real. Okay, because that's a big
It's
part.
real.
Yeah.
I've seen psychics. I've worked with them for decades, and I'm talking about real psychics that can make connections. They're friends. I'm skeptical. I'll even call them out on it. Show me more. And they do. And
Yeah.
there must be something going on there where they've activated this part of who they are. And then I also wonder too, successful business people, how do they make certain decisions? It
Yep.
sounds like you feel that they have harnessed the power of this.
It's a huge advantage in business
Mm.
or any field or industry that you're in, especially
Sure.
if you're some sort of creative scientist or an engineer. Um, Pretty powerful tool. And it's there, sitting there, dormant, waiting for you to use it. You know, I
Mm.
remember I consulted, oh God, this is around 2000. I consulted a psychic about something that I wasn't able to figure out at the time. And she said almost straight away, and this is at the end of a very difficult 3 weeks. Okay. And she said almost straight away, oh, have you had some sort of a challenge these past 3 weeks? Okay. Again, it's accessing the information's out there. Okay. It's all out there. There's a way to access that. There's higher senses waiting for you to use, to wake up and use that you can access without much training at all once you activate those dormant glands and genes.
Do you feel also that we need to activate it, but we also need to listen? We're so busy with life, multiple jobs, family, on and on and on, devices, all of that, that even if we were somewhat activated already in terms of interpreting what's around us, that we're not even hearing it or seeing it because we're deflected by all these distractions. Do you feel that that's also a factor here too?
That is always a big factor. Even a lot of us adults aren't very good listeners.
Mm.
Okay. And now it's time to, well, this is why they say meditate, because you do have to be still, relatively still, or still enough internally, within yourself. Um, and another big part that helps with that isn't just meditation, but also the reason why those results, you can call them proof or testimonials at a minimum, were so good from the people that have used this a third eye activator method is it stimulates or it creates something called the epigenetic factor. All right, stimulates dormant genes that are involved in building cells that are a part of these higher senses that are very much there. Again, if your computer and phone can do it, so can you. They
Mm.
catch those waves coming through the air. There's packets of information coming through the air, and the antenna on the Wi-Fi catches it. All right, that's your pineal gland. Then it steps it down through various processes into your speaker and puts it onto your screen as far as the visual side of things is concerned, which is what those six other glands that I mentioned earlier are all about. So, what I now, most people, one of the best ways to activate all of this, all your dormant brain faculties, genes, glands, kick them back into life, is through visualization. But most people struggle to visualize, or if they can, it's only for a few seconds or a minute, and they can't hold focus. All right. And of course, many people can't visualize at all. And that was an issue. So a few years back, I developed a method where it's based on the concept of quantum entanglement. Okay. Actually, it's not based on you're familiar with the term quantum entanglement, right?
Sure.
Okay. So quantum entanglement, this is more like quantum entrainment, where you hear something like those brainwave entrainment audios, okay, on either side, and it makes the brain respond and entrain to the two signals on either side, and you go into that deep meditative state. Um, there is a visual form of that where whenever you look at something or hear something or are near something, your own atoms and particles start entraining to that thing that you're listening to or looking at, or simply being in close proximity of. All right. Now, some people who've really done their personal development will know the story of a whole bunch of women moved together in a dormitory, and then after a few weeks or months, their monthly cycles start to synchronize into the same week or few days.
Sure.
Okay. That's quantum entrainment. Okay. So what I decided to test a few years back that got these great results was what I call simply a meditation video, where it's a video of a holographic image of the brain, and it lights up all those particular glands. Okay. And it moves on to DNA after that, but it lights up those particular glands, including the pituitary, stria medullaris, etc. And when I started testing it on myself and a few others, we would look at it and we would start to feel parts of that brain, literally, physically, just by looking at it. So that's quantum entrainment. And so what we developed, we added a powerful audio in the background. We've added commands, special coded commands, which is my voice that you'll be hearing. And you look at the processes of lighting up those parts of the brain, and your brain naturally entrains to it and responds to it. Okay. And hence those results that I read out at the beginning of this of our talk. And it's simply called the third eye activation meditation video. It's a video that you watch and listen to for, I think it's 26 minutes. And it also is great for balancing your hormones that's involved in weight loss, among other things, and detox, because the pituitary gland is the master hormone command center for your whole body. And say there's some side benefits to it as well. And that's what I provide for people at returntoyourtruth.com. And that's where it's at. There's a bit of training involved, but not much. And I normally give it only to students of the 5 Archways of Shadow Work course, which is available there for free. If you opt in there, you qualify for this video. And quite simply, there's also a free training webinar that just gets into more of the details. But once you opt in, you get all this, and it's a free opt-in, And so I'm trying to think, I mean, it's almost countless real life scenarios where you can get benefit from this, especially if you're doing shadow work. It helps you locate blocks much easier, work with your shadow self much easier. Again, really powerful, really powerful.
we have it. Why not use it? And I remember this is about 3 years ago, a Reiki practitioner did did some work on me. And when they were done, they said, this is what we found. This is what I'm seeing. They said, your third eye is kind of mucked up, but you make up for it using other intuitive traits that you have or other chakras. They tried clearing it to a certain extent, but I'm sure it wasn't fully activated as it could be in terms of what you're talking about, Jim. Fascinating. Again,
Yep.
it's
Well,
here.
once you upgrade or activate your third eye and have much easier time seeing the non-physical or even just visualizing, it's really the same thing. You can clear your own chakras. You can do an endless amount of stuff
Wow.
without having to throw money at a psychic or Reiki practitioner. And I help with people do that. That there is ongoing support.
It's exciting because we have it. Why not use it? It is something that is in us to help us move forward. Think of back in the days of cave people time or the beginning of human existence. We would get these downloads and we didn't have all the distractions like we have today. And maybe the third eye was better activated, but you would know inside the cave there was a pterodactyl out there. You would just sense it, you would feel it and say, I'm not going out right now. Imagine if somebody did, they wouldn't be here and maybe the species wouldn't have continued.
That's right. Even if you couldn't hear it, you're being told, no, don't go out there, and you've just saved your own life.
Yeah.
To use an extreme example,
But that's why we're still here, I believe, because of our intuition. Jim, is it easy as just going to returntoyourtruth.com?
Returntoyourtruth.com, opt in for the free course, and because we look after people, but there's often regular Q&As and so on and so forth. And I provide it for the mass meditation group that I lead as well. And good stuff there. Check it out.
I appreciate all the insight today. This is things that I wondered about. You further validated it and so much more. And I didn't think it was that easy.
All I'll say, last thing I'll say is claim it. It's there to be claimed. Your natural birthright, innate abilities, as much as you have a right to speak with your physical, tongue, mouth, and voice box, this is just as big a deal.
Yeah. Claim
it. And I'm being really sincere there.
I appreciate it. Jim, thank you so much for today. Love your insight. It's always, I've been studying this for years. You further validate it and provide even more information of how even just this works within our intuition. And of course, you do a lot of shadow work. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Thank you, Steve. Wonderful catching up with you.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.